We are very pleased to have with us His Excellency Ambassador of Federal Republic of Germany, Dr. Cyrill Nunn. Welcome to our program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Mr. Ambassador, kindly if you enlighten us the main function, your embassy, and the kind of service your embassy provide the Iraqi people and the Iraqi government.
This embassy is, because of the special circumstances in this country,
yes,
an embassy which has a lot to do, but which has a very small personnel. So we really have to focus on what is the most important for us. And the most important is to make sure that the political contacts between Germany and Baghdad are good.
Yes, sir.
Very important it is also to make sure that our business relations restart,
yes, sir,
and continue to flourish. Another point of huge importance is the consular section. You might know that by now there are 300,000 Iraqi citizens living in Germany.
In Germany,
they
correct,
have families,
yes,
they have kids, they have visitors.
Yes.
So this is far more than it was some years ago.
Definitely.
And we have to make sure that these people can travel to Germany, students, businessmen, etc.
So you do facilitate visas from your embassy here in Baghdad to
Yes.
the people in need for it. They present obviously their documents and everything, correct?
We deliver visas here,
Yeah.
quite a lot of them, and in Iraq we have two consulates, this one and another one in Erbil, so this is an important function also.
Yes, sir.
And another I would like perhaps also to mention,
yes,
is to coordinate our stabilization and our humanitarian help. Germany is a large contributor, and a lot of the work has to be done in this embassy.
Yes, sir. As you well aware, Chancellor Merkel, she spoke to our Prime Minister last week sometime, and she emphasized once again the great support from Germany to the Iraqi people and the Iraqi government. Can you enlighten us, please, what kind of support she meant when she called? Is military, is economy, is all the above? What exactly the kind of support your government given to our government?
I think the phone call of the Chancellor to the Prime Minister of Iraq was a reminder how important it is from a German point of view to have a functioning Iraqi government.
Yes, sir.
And it was the first encounter of these two politicians per telephone. So they talked about what do we want to do together. From our point of view, what has to continue, which is very important, is that Iraq is in a position to stabilize the country,
yes, sir,
to make the country coming back to where it belongs, meaning a big Arab country with different layers of populations,
yes, sir,
in a difficult environment. So we are friends of a strong Iraq, of an Iraq which is taking its place in this region, which is for us a very important interlocutor. And in order to achieve that, the Chancellor said that we will continue to work together with the government,
yes, sir,
and to work mainly together in the fields where we have competence. And this is humanitarian help, this is stabilization, this will be reconstruction, this is interaction in the field of business, commerce, investments, this is the academic field, and this is naturally also the military cooperation,
yes,
which we have here, as we have here German soldiers who helped in the fight against Daesh.
The working, you touch on base on this point is very important. Basically, the military help from Germany now is training the Iraqi soldiers or equipment, or what exactly the help of that field?
That's exactly the case. The focus of the help is on training soldiers in Taji and also in Erbil.
Yes, sir.
And besides that, there is still huge amounts of equipment. Much of it is equipment also for the fight against or the protection against mines, for instance.
Yeah.
Or also
the border issue also, there is a help, coordination?
Well, this less, but the equipment is focusing on this one. It's focusing very much also on
cleaning the ground,
help,
basically.
exactly, cleanings, the help of these services in the Iraqi army. And this is still a very important help. We give a practical help, plus the people who are able to help the Iraqis to perfect their knowledge in these fields.
Very grateful for this. So basically you're working as a German military, or you're working under the umbrella of the coalition forces?
This is the German contingent is part of the coalition forces.
Part of it.
Completely integrated into it, in whatever we do is part of the work of the coalition.
Excellent, excellent. And the other kind of help you just mentioned, other kind of help is it works hand by other community, other NGOs, other international organizations in Iraq, or you guys work with the government, mainly with the Iraqi government only?
The Iraqi government at the end is always our main interlocutor,
Yes,
because we don't do anything which is not discussed with the Iraqi government, and we have to know what the Iraqi government wants. The Iraqi government has naturally to know what he wants, to tell us what he wants, to have plans, to have a strategy. This is very important, and we work on that together with the Iraqi government. But here in Iraq, on the ground, we have huge partners, or we are partners of other huge organizations. The main and the most important ones are the UN organizations.
Yes, sir.
Under the umbrella of UNAMI, if you want it, the UNDP, but you could name many others. UNMAS, Mine Clearing, UNICEF for the children, UNESCO for the culture, World Food Programme.
Women empowerment, I believe there is support
so
also.
we all these organizations, we work with them. And then we have also national organizations.
Yes, sir.
And the biggest one is the GIZ. It's the name of the German state organization for development cooperation.
This is official side from the government,
Official from the government.
All right.
And they're big.
All right.
They're big. There are more than 300 people in Iraq. And they do a lot of work. Now, this work is coordinated also with the international bodies, with the United Nations bodies, with our partners, because we want at the end that whatever we do is efficient, that we don't lose money, that we don't waste energies, and again, the most important, we want to do things which are good for the people of Iraq and which are also discussed with the government of Iraq.
Yes, sir. I'm talking about different kind of energy. You just mentioned the energy, the human capital, I understand. Well, I'm talking about Siemens contract, because there are so many talks or rumors out there. The government of Germany or the Siemens itself have signed a contract, has been finalized with the Iraqi government, or it's initial agreement, and what exactly this stands. And I believe there is a competition, other companies also involved. Do you have any update for the Iraqi people? Because, you know, one of the worst nightmare our people live in Iraq, it's the electricity issue. So maybe you have good news for us, hopefully.
Yes, you're completely right that you know that far better than me, that when the temperature raises, the people of Iraq in the whole country, but mainly in the south, also suffer from heat and suffer from many problems, which is due to the lack of electricity. Therefore, the Iraqi government has looked around and asked big companies to help them in that sector. One of the big companies which is able to do that and which is leading in that sector is the German company Siemens. So Siemens, as I think the first one, said, here is an offer, we can do that, we can work together. And we as German government, Siemens is a private corporation, but we as German government say this is a good way to go forward, because at the end, in Basra and in the south, you need electricity. This is a fact of life. And therefore, I think that we are not far away from having an agreement between the government of Iraq and the company of Siemens about building the infrastructure in order to produce electricity. The time is very much pressing because right now it's winter. Now it's okay, but in 5-6 months we will have the same problems.
Once again.
Therefore, I presume very strongly that in a short span of time there will be concrete results on that, and the Iraqi government will announce that to us all.
Let's wish for the best. Hopefully this issue will be solved soon. I believe there is also present in the Baghdad International Fair for his couple of German also identities there. I believe yourself, Your Excellency, went to the Baghdad International Fair and you visit them. I saw on the media. So if there is any progress, my question basically is, if there is any progress, there is more companies getting, more German companies getting to the Iraqi market, or it's the same like last year? We see any progress, you think?
Well, Iraq, seen from abroad,
Yes, sir.
Iraq is a rich country.
Correct.
Because it is a country which has huge amounts of natural resources, exports a lot of natural resources.
Correct.
So it's not only an abstract wealth, it is a concrete wealth with a lot of money coming back to the country.
Correct.
And it's a country which is rich naturally also with human capital, but also with water and with abilities to do things. Therefore, German companies know that. German companies are in this country since most of them who were at the trade fair are here since 50 years, 60 years. This is a very long time. Some of them, like Siemens,
Very familiar with the Iraqi
100
market.
years. At the beginning of Iraq, you have Siemens here. They always have been here.
Correct.
Therefore, for them to go to Iraq is not discovering something new.
Correct.
It is just coming back to a place they know well. It is coming back to a place they know business has been done in a very good way. And they know in this place business can and hopefully will be done again in the future. And therefore, indeed, this year we had 20 companies at the fair. Now these companies are really all of them big names, big brands, and well-known brands, and all of them companies who can offer something to the market here, being medical systems, being construction, be it irrigation, be it machinery, and they were there. So the very good news is, yes, it's double as much companies this year as last year. And the feeling of the business people, I quote them because I asked them, is they are optimistic. They are optimistic because they sense, I quote them, that the new government has realized how important this field of activity is for Iraq. They are optimistic because they sense and they feel that the new ministers are also very much understanding that and are understanding also the difficulties the companies have had till now to operate.
There was challenging. There were
and
challenges.
I
challenges.
understand, and I hear also that many of the new ministers know exactly what has to be done and know that the challenges are huge, but are ready to tackle this challenge under the authority of His Excellency the Prime Minister. So the German companies here will leave Baghdad in 1-2 days after the end of the fair, with a mood of optimism and with the sense that after difficult years, the last years were very difficult for business, business will be again possible in this country. So this is a good signal I can give back to you. It's something I felt in the fair, and the companies very much share with me and share with their Iraqi counterparts.
Thank you, sir. So basically, after the invasion of 2003 for the American forces to Iraq, we can look, hopefully, and Germany look to the future of Iraqi future in general, in an optimistic way in general. I mean, economy, militarily, security-wise, there is improvement. The future will be better than, unfortunate, very hard ship we left behind. Hopefully, we left behind.
Well, the last years were terrible years for Iraq, and I don't have, as a long-time diplomat in some of the difficult countries of the world, I never faced a challenge which you can compare with Daesh.
Yes, sir.
Because Daesh is destruction, is only destruction. And so this country was faced with that, and this country has to face that and has to defeat that, and this is naturally a big success. Now, if you look at the future, the organization of things, the decision-making, fight against corruption, the fact that you need state structures who deliver, who are good, who deliver to the promises they make, a budget which is strictly implemented. And many, many other things. These are things which the new government will have to tackle in order naturally for Iraq to prosper and to get back on a real good track, and also in order for foreign companies to enter into the market and work in a framework which they understand, which is legally safe, and again, which is also freed of corruption, which is a huge problem here for foreign companies.
Unfortunately, that's a fact. Let's leave it with this optimistic future vision, and we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. Please stay with us. About the future of Iraq. There is any plans for the German government for future? Also, there is development in the relationship. There is new offices. There is more communication with the Iraqi people in the near future.
Yes, no, thank you for this question.
Thank you, sir.
I know and I hear very often from Iraqi friends that the presence of Germany here is known, but not very visible and not very palpable.
Unfortunately,
and we are aware of
Excellent.
that. And this is a point which is extraordinarily valid. Why is the reason of that?
Yes,
the main reason is that in the last 2-3 years, we have worked behind our security walls.
Yes, sir.
And yourself entered this embassy, and you know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
So we very much hope that the security situation will continue to improve. And we very much hope that on that base, we will be here able to have an embassy which is an embassy commensurate to what we want to do in Iraq. Now, there are nevertheless some good news. One is that before the end of the year, we will open a trade office here in this embassy.
Excellent.
Meaning somebody of the German Chamber of Commerce who will at any time be here. Yes, or German, but somebody here physically in Iraq, in Baghdad. And this person will be there to respond to questions of Iraqi businessmen, but also to help German businessmen to enter the market. So this is good news, and this will happen soon. The second good news is that the German Cultural Institute, the Goethe Institute, is now firmly looking at the possibility of returning to Baghdad. Also there, why did they close? Not because there's a lack of interest, not because there's a lack of capabilities, but there was the sense that this is not the right time for security reasons. So we very much hope that the security situation gives me, as ambassador, all the arguments to say, come back, this is a safe environment, and then the people will come back, because the interest to come back, the interest to be here, from a German point of view, is still huge.
Excellent. So what I summarize from what you have said, Your Excellency, that it's all about logistics. It has nothing to doing with the assembly of the government, because as you know, the Iraqi government has not been formed completely yet. This unstable situation, unstable political situation in Iraq does not affect your work at all in any way?
No, because we see Iraq.
All right, excellent.
And Iraq is a democracy, you have a new government, indeed, the government formation is still not completed. We wish, naturally, for the stakeholders in Iraq to agree quickly on something workable, and we wish for the stakeholders of Iraq to work also together and with us. This is the base, naturally, of our work here. We know that many people here are very committed. The Prime Minister is, many ministers I met are committed.
Yes,
so for us, the quality and the intensity of our relations to Iraq don't depend on government being here or there or information. As I said before, it depends on logistical questions which have to do with security.
Yes, sir.
And it depends also very much on the capacity of the Iraqi government, meaning the Iraqi administration, to interact with us in the many fields. That is, I think, very, very, very important.
We are very much aware that Germany is the biggest donor to the Iraqi people, especially after the unfortunate situations we have been through with the Daesh and all this. This strategy or this work, the German government presented in yourself and your embassy here, working hand by hand, I mean, related to security field, related to economy, investment, all this together, or there is priorities you always work on when you're done goal one, for example, you will move on. How does it work with you guys?
No, I think all these elements are part and parcels of our Iraq policy and our presence here.
Yes, sir.
We talked about the priorities before. I
Yes,
named
sir.
4 of them. You can say these are probably the 4 most important fields of activity. You started now your question with the stabilization help, the humanitarian help.
Correct.
This is a help which has a high political signification,
Yes, sir.
because the money we give is not money which is needed by Iraq. Because Iraq is a very rich country.
Correct.
But it is money which we put at the disposal of Iraq in order to focus on certain fields of activity which, according to the government of Iraq and according to us, are extremely important to get the balance of the country right again. Mosul,
Yes, sir.
Nineveh Plains, now Basra.
Correct.
There is the need to focus strongly on these fields so that these cities, which are important parts of Iraq and different communities of the family of Iraqis, that they go back on track. And we think that with our contribution, we help the government, together with the United Nations and other institutions, we help the government to focus on these fields. And why do we do that? We do that because we think that if you don't have stability in Mosul or in Basra, you will not have stability in Iraq. And I come back to my point of departure. We would like an Iraq which is stable, which is strong, which is unified,
Yes, sir.
and which in this region takes its full space and its full place. At the juncture of all your neighbors who surround you and who are some of them big and some of them also politically difficult neighbors.
Correct, correct. This work you are doing, obviously there will be obstacles. What is the most difficult challenges or obstacles you have facing to implement such a strategy and try to reach Iraq or any other country you want to help? There is always some things in your way. What is the most difficult and challenges you have faced so far in your work?
Well, I think the most important is naturally that we would like to have a government of Iraq who is strong and empowered,
Yes, sir.
meaning ministers who are strong can decide, militaries who are strong who can decide, organizations who are strong who can decide, governors who are strong who can decide. And this is not always the case.
No.
Very often you have one question and the answers are given by many people.
Correct.
And it makes life very difficult naturally for countries like us who said, okay, we are requested and would like to help. So at the end, we are the friend of a strong government who has the strong empowerment to decide things together with the other stakeholders, but to decide things. And when these things are decided, for instance, please do this, we do it.
Yes, sir.
We do it. We start to build a
Decision
hospital.
maker. There is a decision maker.
We start to build a hospital.
Yes, sir.
We continue to build a hospital. We refurbish the hospital. We train the people. The company are paid. The hospital functions. This chain of command is very difficult in Iraq because there's always something in between for many reasons we mentioned before. So this, if you ask me, as somebody who is also operational on the ground, this would be, I think, very beneficial to the people of Iraq. And for our work here, in the many fields I mentioned, that would be easier. And at the end, the results would be. We have results.
Yes, sir.
The results are slow. They are imperfect, and we could have quick results and perfect results.
Excellent.
That would be the difference.
Excellent. We have touched on the base of the assistance from your government to the Iraqi people. Can we emphasize more the point of cooperation between your government and the Iraqi government as far as counterterrorism is mentioned? I mean, you know very well, you're very much aware of the terrorism is a global challenge. There is any cooperation, intelligence sharing, for example, besides what you have mentioned earlier of equipment and training our soldiers? There is other field of expertise we can get from the German government, for example, on that matter?
Well, the fight against terrorism is a field of preoccupation which we share, Iraq and Germany.
Yes, sir.
And therefore, there is a tradition, naturally, a strong tradition of working together. And we have bodies in Iraq and we have bodies in Germany whose job it is exactly to do that, and they work together in a very professional way. What I perhaps would mention in this context is that there is also the wish to reshape some of the structure of the Iraqi state that has been decided by the former government in conjunction with the international community. In one of the chapters where we have been requested also as Germany to shed an eye is exactly this field, meaning becoming better organized, more transparent, and having at the end bodies who are even better able to face the challenges. So not even that we work together on the ground, we work also together in our aspiration to shape even better the instruments of Iraq to work in this field. And this is something, again, which is upon demand of the Iraqi government and which is very much co-chaired by the international community, and in this case also very strongly by the German government.
Excellent. I believe you have been in Mosul a couple of days back, and you have seen yourself the devastation, terrorism, and the terrorists they've done to the city. And there are so many other cities, Ramadi, and other cities also been affected by this. You've been in the ground, your evaluation to the progress, there is any progress? Is it slow? You wishing for better? I know Germany, as we mentioned earlier, is the biggest donor to the Iraqi government to help rebuild these towns and cities being affected by terrorism. Are you satisfied so far with the progress, or there isn't?
It's always, your question is the answer on your question is very subjective, because on one side you can say, for somebody like me who was there many times and remembers who it was exactly after the liberation, and you compare it with now,
yes.
You compare, for instance, the university, you compare not only the buildings, but you compare also the minds of the people. Things have changed.
Okay.
Positively.
Excellent.
But then, this is the positive side. But then you look naturally at the old city and you look at how it is. Well, things have changed a little bit, but there is so much to be done still.
All right.
So my answer on that would be Mosul is still a city where people are waiting for answers. And our fear is that the people might get angry if they don't get more of these answers.
Excellent. Other side effect for the terrorism and terrorists is a very, I don't know, a lot of people unfortunately flee their countries out of their wills. They became refugees in some countries, especially in Germany, most of them. We have heard recently there are a couple of people have been forced to go back to their country of origin. These Iraqis are included in this. There is any process, I don't know, points, you guys counting? How other people are, some people are allowed to stay and other people, they must depart Germany. Do you have any information on that?
Yes, absolutely, because you know this is a legal process.
All right.
And in the German legal system, and we're talking now about Iraqi citizens,
yes, sir.
Nobody will be forcibly repatriated or extradited to Iraq, but one category.
Yes, sir.
This is the people who have committed serious crimes in Germany. Iraqi citizens who have committed serious crimes in Germany.
Yes, sir.
And these people, in accordance with the authorities of this country, go back to Iraq. There are a handful of them, but it is a very small group. For the rest, Iraqis coming back from Iraq to Germany do that on a voluntary basis, 100%. There is no policy in Germany of forced repatriation to Iraq. There is no, it's legally not possible in our system.
Excellent. Okay, can we, if we horizon our conversation a little bit and we talk about the nuclear deal, if you kindly touch base on this point also. I mean, after the withdrawal of the United States, well, Germany still holding on, and obviously the rest of Europe so far are holding on. My point is very simple on the on the economy impact on other countries like Iraq have been affected directly by the economy impact. There is any kind of, I don't know, special treatment, way of dealing with things economically to help the Iraqi people on that matter? I don't know what exactly the final situation with Germany on that matter.
In the European Union, as you know, the European Union and its countries have on the question on sanction toward Iran a different approach than the United States of America. This is well known. And therefore, naturally, we discussed as Europeans with Iran and said, what can we do in order to find ways which are legal and which are nevertheless allowing us to continue the trade. And for this, there are certain ways, there are certain roads which are possible. And on this chapter, how the European countries, among them Germany, will organize their future commerce with Iran, respectful of the American embargo, which is a reality, how we can deal with that. On these talks, it is important to have an exchange with Iraq, because you are faced a little bit with the same problem, and it will be, and it is already interesting, naturally, to, I would say, compare notes. So what can we do? What are we doing? What can you do? What are you doing? A little bit learning from each other and looking where there might be similarities.
Thank you so very much. We leave it there. Thank you for your kindness and your time, Mr. Ambassador. That was our interview with the Ambassador of Federal Republic of Germany, Mr. Cyrill Nunn. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.